Hey, what's up, listener? Today we have Matt Oxley, Stoy, Prioleau, and myself talking about Generation Z and those Gay Olympics 2024. As I recorded this intro right now, Charleston, South Carolina is bracing for what they are calling historic rainfall for the next 4 days. If you've seen Charleston from an airplane, you know it's going to be a bad week for a lot of people. Not cool, but hey, this conversation that you're about to hear with me, Matt and Stoy, was last week, Thursday, August 1st, still right in the middle of the Olympics. And of course, humans can't have one good thing with peace, not even the daggum Olympics. We found a way to argue and belittle one another once again. Not even the Olympics are sacred anymore. All right, we love you and thanks for learning with us today.
As far as thinking about cancel culture and how Joey had to navigate through his statement to ask you a simple question. Like,
yeah, I don't think it should be that way.
No,
I hate that it's
Joey,
that way.
I'm coming to your defense here. I'm saying, why is it made so complicated just to say something normal?
To me, it doesn't have to be. I think that's the result of our internet culture. Really, most people talking past one another all the time. So you have to get into these super specific, everything has to be hyper defined instead of just having a conversation with your neighbor. That's, to me, what this is. We're neighbors and we're conversing about things.
What if when we felt offended, we really turned the other cheek? If we feel so persecuted by something like this, why don't we bless those who persecute us like Jesus said?
Thank you. Amen.
My answer gonna be the same.
Yeah.
Always good.
Well, that's
you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. I was gonna ask you, actually. We'll just get this thing rolling. I was gonna say, and Matt can just pop in whenever, but just like that, there is Matt.
Speak of the devil, and he will come.
Hey, welcome to the show. It's Pastor with No Answers. We are gonna talk Olympics opening ceremony and Olympics trans stuff. That's probably not the proper way of saying that, Matt. Remind people of the relationship that you're in, Matt, that is pertinent to this conversation for very basic reasons.
My partner's trans, and so I'm highly invested.
There you go.
But that would be the case no matter what. I would still feel invested.
Yes, sir. Because that's just who Matt is, Stoy. That's just who Matt is.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know what? That he has a good heart or that he had a trans partner?
That he had a trans partner.
Gotcha.
I demanded, pleaded, called God on promises and was like, you have to show up or I am done. And he did.
That's something to really think about. What does it mean that the God of the universe loves me?
Are we saying that our God is bigger than their God or what?
Man, you got my mind going crazy right now.
I just think that is evangelical bullshit.
And I don't fit in their box anymore. So feeling rejected from the church makes me feel far away from God.
If I'm living out of the love of God, love of the divine, then in some ways we're unoffendable.
It's wrong to marginalize anybody for any reason.
Sometimes we can just have some things about our perspective that's off until we encounter someone who can challenge our thoughts, have conversations with us, and we just continue to grow and evolve.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I like that.
That sounded like womp, 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 womp to Rob.
I'm a hardcore gospel lover. I do love the gospel. I just think we get it wrong.
Girl, I was so highly medicated, I don't even know if you Oh, I found my people.
Then we're
I
going
need
to
water. I'll be right back before we get started. Go ahead, though. I'm listening.
And then we'll wrap up the discussion on iGen because I just read a book and even the title, man, it's called iGen: Why Today's Super Connected Kids Are Growing Up Less Rebellious, More Tolerant, Less Happy, and Completely Unprepared for Adulthood. And it's by Gene Twenge, Twenge, however you pronounce it. But I actually wrote this down. I wanted to ask Stoy, if you are having a bad day, what would that look like on the reg? So I'll let the listeners in on Stoy and I were just talking. I didn't hit record soon enough. I should have just waited for a second, but I always ask Stoy, how's he doing? And I get the same answer every time. So I was about to ask him, how was he doing? But I was like, is that even a question worth asking? So Stoy, what do you usually tell me when I ask you that?
I'm always good.
Would you be reasonably open with me, someone who I'm sure you consider a friend? Like, are you the type of person that would just say, not really, man, here's what's going on?
No, I'm not that type of person. My outlook on that particular statement,
which I want to get into. So, Matt, you know this. I don't know if Stoy does or not, but Stoy, an extreme case of this can be found in the church. Something along the lines of, "Hey, man, are you okay? You're looking like you're really coming down with something." A Christian would say, "Don't speak that sort of death over me." And basically what they would mean is that's a very powerful statement, and I don't want anything to do with that because words are powerful. I used to believe there's no inherent power in words, which I think is a garbage opinion. Now it just took some maturing to recognize just how related words are to your thoughts and how effectual thoughts are and all of that. But where do you stand with the power of words and positivity and that kind of thing? And does that connect, Stoy, with the relevance of this particular statement and why you would always say you're doing all right?
Honestly, I'd be connected to things that is like in the Bible or that's connected to other like really spiritual people without me even knowing. Like I don't read the Bible. I grew up in the church and all of that, but I was a kid at the time.
Mm-hmm.
My mom always said I got like the spirit of discernment, and I don't even know what she be talking about. I just know that I speak directly from my heart, So, but my connection to not saying, "Hey, man, no, I'm not doing good, and here's what's going on." For one, I don't ever feel like I should put any kind of weight of mine on somebody else, especially with how the world is basically made up. Everybody have their own problems. Everybody have their own issues.
Matt, I already got some pushback for Stoy. I already got some. All right, keep going.
Yeah, well, I'm ready for it. I can take any kind of pushback. And that's the surface of it. The deeply rooted part of who I am at my core is I know I'm okay because I've seen this movie play for 47 years. So when I tell you I'm always good, it's because I'm connected to a source that I know will always make sure that I'm okay. So that's not coming from the surface of a mood or a temperament or attitude or a reaction. That's coming from a deeply rooted understanding that at the end of the day, no matter what I'm going through, I'm going to be okay after that. So if I'm in the middle, I could be in the middle of a storm. I can tell, and I'm going to tell you, I'm always good because I know that storm is coming to an end at some point in time. So that's what it means to me.
Yeah. So my pushback is the beauty in this setup I'm going to spell out here that Matt has not known you for too long. And I would even say getting to know you at a deeper level, but doesn't even know you at a deeper level. And I guarantee you, if you were struggling unless you didn't want people to know, Matt cares about you and would want to know, like, what are we shortchanging the concept of friendship and family and being there for one another if we're not willing to open up about how we're doing it in a current season? Like, it seems like there's people that love you and would want to know.
And I agree with that to a certain extent because being there for me could be just asking the question. Like you being there for me, it requires what I need in that moment, not what you think I need. So
I'm with
yeah.
you, Stoy. Really, I'm totally with you. I'm just like you as far as that goes. It sounds like you sound just like me.
Well, hey, brother Matt.
Yeah. Like I do not feel comfortable just, when people say, how are you doing? I just say fine, but I'm not fine. I'm far from fine. I'm nowhere close to fine. That's a lie.
Well, I don't feel like I'm lying because of where the core of
Right.
it is. But when Joey say like I'm kind of robbing the relationship with whoever, like my loved ones and things like that, I don't think I am. Let me give y'all an example. Like my family my family always want to celebrate me. They always want to celebrate me, and I know who I am, and I know what I do for my family. So I don't want to, when they do things, I don't want to take it away from them and say, nah. But I put out guidelines like, hey, I don't really celebrate a birthday. I don't really like, that's just not my mentality. So if you want to be there for me, give me what I need. You know what I mean? Not what you think I need. So if I'm giving you the blueprint and I say, hey, I don't like gifts. I don't like I would rather do something for somebody, or I just like to see other people smile because I feel like I have a relationship with a higher power that I fully live it. I live it. So I can tell when somebody's not living that. There are people that speak things, but you can all it doesn't have it's not solid. So I know they're not living what they're saying. I actually live what I'm saying. So when I'm saying I'm always good, I really believe that I'm always good. I'm not lying to you. That's how I feel. Even if the mood, or I had a interaction that was negative with somebody in my life, uh, I'm not saying I don't have negative interactions. I'm saying I know that negative interaction will be turned into something positive. So there's no need to speak the power into that or give that any energy. I bring light. I don't bring dark.
Was there a turning point that you can pinpoint at all, Stoy, that got you on this trajectory that sounds like a pretty consistently peaceful way of living your life, or was it a gradual thing? Because I think we would all three agree that the sort of peace that Stoy is talking about isn't doesn't come natural for people in their early 20s, for instance. Were you walking around with the sort of peace you have right now 27 years ago?
No, the piece that you're speaking about, like, I mean, you can ask 10 people in my life how is Stoy, and then ask another 10 how is Stoy. They're gonna say terminology that doesn't resonate with peace, like aggressive, or like you don't hear that in my tone when I'm speaking things. I only get aggressive or passionate about something because I've already did so much for it not to go into a negative place. So the turning point, I was always grounded here. I always needed to know the reason. Ever since a little kid, my biggest thing was why. Why is that this? Why is that that? And I always try to find the logic in it, the reasoning for it. So I wouldn't say I was always at peace because I didn't understand who I was. So I spent time period in figuring things out, and I think there was some unresolved issues that I didn't know how to solve because my I was still immature. But the turning point there, I can't say. I can't. There's nothing I could grab right away for you. Maybe if I come back or think about it while we
Sure.
do
Yeah,
the
yeah.
show, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh yeah, this happened. But there's nothing that just right away snapped to me.
Yeah. Matt, how would you, like, if somebody, if you were in a safe space, and what I mean by that personally is you're amongst people who you feel a little more at ease to be open in ways that you wouldn't necessarily be within a, group of people that you're just getting to know. And anyway, mental health, the topic of was breached, and basically y'all just started to talk about how healthy or unhealthy each person viewed themselves. And somebody said, what about you, Matt? Like, mental health, man, you consider yourself a fairly mentally healthy person in general? Like, how would you answer that?
Oh God. No. Really, really definitely not. I do have, very similar to what Stoy talks about, is like I do have an incredible belief that like in the end everything's going to be fine. And so when I say I'm fine, what I generally mean is I'm holding on until it is fine. And it's going to be okay eventually. You know what I mean? And I also, I don't want to bring people down, but I also want my friends to tell me everything that they need to tell me, talk to me about everything. I just don't I'm not a talker like that. I'm more of a listener for that kind of thing. I tend to break down really bad, like start crying. I get hyper emotional if I'm trying to talk about certain feelings of mine, and I just can't even talk. So that's why it's just a very difficult thing for me to really do, to break down and just talk like that in a group.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times like 10 or 15 years ago, I was at this event that a buddy put on where it was Christians and atheists having a conversation. And I within a second of opening my mouth, I just started crying and I couldn't stop. It was completely uncontrollable because it was just so raw to even try to talk about it at that time. And I'm still like that with a lot of stuff.
Matt, people are used to me articulating something along these lines, but just the extra level of ease that I feel having you here talking about subject matter, surrounding trans people. But I did want to say that off air, Stoy kind of peer mentored me in a very similar way that you have talked to me, Matt, in regard to just me kind of wrapping my mind around the fact that when I talk and how I talk, people I think the spirit that comes out, people aren't going to confuse it for mean-spiritedness or insensitivity, and that I can kind of just back off of being so cautious and scared of that just because. So it's just interesting that both of you guys have talked to me off air about that.
Stoy, way before you got involved, he used to obsess over being canceled. And I was like, dude, do they pay your bills? Are you getting your bills paid by these people on this podcast? Say what you think. And if you say something awful, the way to avoid getting canceled is to say, I'm sorry, I messed up. That will fix it every time, I promise. It will.
Yeah. But I will say this, though. I think if I was using that exact terminology, canceled, in my mind, what I was thinking of, I think cancel can only happen to people who are super famous. I think for me, I would actually use that terminology, but I was talking a deeper heart thing, as I don't want to say something that upsets, but most importantly, hurts a lot of people when it didn't have to go down that way and it was coming out of ignorance or a mistake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's what I would say to that is if your circle consists of people that know who you are, just like when we had the little thing with where you hurt my feelings. And if I were to take that and run with it and not even give you a chance to say, hey, this is what I meant, or say, I'm sorry that what I meant hurt your feelings. If I was in a space, whether it's the culture or anything, where if I'm in a space and I'm in your circle and I don't give you the opportunity to fix the situation, then I'm the one with issues. You know what I'm saying? So if you were to say something and they're like, oh, Joey is da 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 da, that pastor don't know what he's talking about, and they just take it and run with it and not say, hey, what did you actually mean? Or I think that it's the other side that has the most work to do. We all will always have work to do, but being concerned about if somebody would cancel you, I think that stems from fear. And anytime I speak to somebody that I can tell they're afraid of something, the first thing I ask them is, what are you afraid of? Like, just face it. Like, tell me exactly what it is that you think the worst thing that could happen in that scenario. Will that end you? Will that stop you from doing what you want to do? No, it won't. So it's really nothing there to fear, but you get in your own head. Anytime you fear what outside of you and your relationship with God, you fear that something coming from somebody else, you got stuff you need to just tweak just a little bit. You tweak it a little bit and you realize, man, that ain't really that scary. Like the boogeyman under the bed. All you got to do is look under the bed. You know what I mean? Look under the bed and you see he's not there.
That's good therapy right there, man. That's good therapy. That was free for everybody.
Yeah, that's free. That was
stuff.
freestyle too.
Hey, Matt, so this isn't worry as much as it's educate me. What's the proper way of, and you know how nervous I used to get about this kind of stuff. My gosh, Matt, but what would be the proper way of referring to Drew's previously, I guess, publicly acknowledged gender? I would imagine that it would not be okay to say Drew's biologically a female. That's not what we would say, correct? Or originally your biological gender. We can't hear you, man.
What I hear most people are comfortable with is it's assigned female at birth or assigned male at birth.
Assigned, yeah.
Because I mean, and this is very pertinent with this boxing thing that happened today. Like, this individual is intersex. This Algerian boxer who won the gold medal. And I know I'm segueing early. All right, but this is an intersex individual who has genitalia of a woman, breast of a woman, gonads inside. So kind of testicles, kind of not, but they're up inside. They didn't drop. Testosterone levels that are higher and XY chromosomes. This person did not know this until a certain period in their life. They wouldn't have known this at birth, you know. Now, there are tests that can determine if that's the case at birth, but a lot of times the kids grow up their whole lives with no clue that they have this condition or they're just something different. Like that's what's happened here, more or less, is this individual lived her life as a woman because from the outside she looks like a woman.
Isn't there a term for that, like hermaphrodite or something like that?
Intersex is like to the more modern terminology used. Intersex.
And hermaphrodite would be offensive nowadays.
These days it is, yeah.
Well, see, that, like, as far as thinking about cancel culture and how Joey had to navigate through his statement to ask you a simple question. Like,
I don't think it should be that way.
No,
I hate that it's
Joey,
that way.
I'm coming to your defense here. I'm saying, like, why is it made so complicated just to say something normal? And
to me, it doesn't have to be. I think that's the result of our internet culture. And really, most people talking past one another all the time. So you have to get into these super specific, everything has to be hyper defined instead of just having a conversation with your neighbor. And that's to me what this is. We're neighbors and we're conversing about things that I might understand that you don't, and vice versa.
Yeah, I don't even say that acronym because I get messed the letters up all the time. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to offend nobody, but I'm also thinking, why the hell they making it so complicated for me to talk? You know what I'm saying? Like, just to have a regular conversation. And
there is this picture that's been made of like the trans community and the gay community as this hyper easily offended and shit like that. And that is not my experience. You know, you will have people who are easily offended in every corner.
This is true.
We call them Karens,
that's
right?
True.
Yeah, Karens exist in every race and every subsegment of society. Most people just want you to be respectful of the choices they make for themselves. And that's it. And they don't want the government involved in their life. They don't want the government telling them what they can and can't do if them and a therapist or them and their surgeon has decided that this is how their medical issues can be handled. That should be it. You know, there should be no national debate over who can compete. That's where all the problems are starting. Or to me, this is the big problem is 0.02% of the population is trans or intersex or something like that. Tiny. And we want to legislate their lives, tell them how they should live. We want to tell them what surgeries they can have or can't have. We want to tell them whether or not they can be named one way or another. We want the government involved in their lives, but not in our lives. And that doesn't make any sense. It's not consistent.
Well, I got a question about that boxing match.
Yeah.
I watched the clip. Did she, Joey, do you know, or Matt? Because Matt seemed to came with all the information. I was like, oh, because I got the surface of it, and I was like, I don't know if that's right. If a man out there punching on a woman, you know what I mean? But just getting the full scope of it, did the other female quit because she knew that information about that?
No. She quit because she got hit hard and she knew she couldn't hit that hard. That was it.
Really?
She did not say anything about sexuality or gender. She made no statements about that. In order for them to make that statement, they had to have already previously known that information. So how could she enter into was that the Olympics? Yeah, this was the Olympics, but like this was a known thing. This boxer was previously banned from IBB competitions, which they're handled separately. They have separate rules, so they can do what they want to do. The Olympics has one set of rules. The IBB has a different one. And there's probably a dozen other boxing federations that have their own rules. She's competing within the rules. And everybody involved knows that is the case, including the woman that lost.
I don't have any quarrels with it. I thought it was a man that was transgender and out there competing.
No.
Because
no, not at all. Yeah. And like I don't know if there are any federations right now, not any large ones, who do allow that. But even so, even if they did, when you go through that process of hormonal change, it does change your body. You do become weaker. You know, so it is going to change you irrevocably.
So, Matt, this is propaganda at its finest.
100%
for lack
propaganda.
Of better words. Okay.
Rage bait. It is rage bait propaganda.
So,
and there's money in it. It's all about the money.
Yeah.
Because the news outlets knew that was the case here, that this could be used to make a story. So they've been priming it for a while. I've been seeing little bits about this for a while. Yeah,
that makes sense. Well, Matt, let me ask you this. With someone who is just going to be naturally more sensitive toward trans issues, it sounds like maybe this does not happen ever, or maybe it's just very rare. But in your opinion, and we'll just talk about swimming, for instance, does a woman swimmer, again, in your opinion, have a legitimate complaint if she was beaten in the sport of swimming by a trans woman who, according to most experts, say the opposing woman had an advantage, the opposing trans woman had an advantage based on strength, size, or hormonal activity that is more akin to a biological male, and apologize for the choice of words if they weren't good. But would you say that they would have a legitimate complaint in your opinion?
to me, sports are very unimportant. So to get upset about it is difficult. And someone also said to me today, life isn't fair. So why should this woman be allowed to compete? Because life isn't fair. And this is just trying to bend over backwards to make life fair for her. But the truth is that for the competitor who got knocked out or who tapped out, she was just experiencing the unfairness of life. Sometimes you have to go against a boxer for the gold medal at the Olympics who has higher testosterone than you. And that just sucks. And Michael Phelps is still, he is genetically different. He is a genetically superior swimmer. He is capable of swimming because of his genetics. He's got big ass feet, long fucking limbs. He can move through the fucking water. He's built for it. It's almost like God made him for that. Does he have an unfair advantage? Yes, he does. He does have an unfair advantage.
Well,
he could certainly beat me.
I think, and I see where you're going with that, Matt. But I think if you start at the base model, if we're competing in anything that requires speed, strength, I don't know, agility, all of the things that, not saying a woman couldn't make herself be able to compete with a man. At the base level, we do have an advantage. Like it's not something that I see where you're going with about life not being fair, and we can take that terminology and then just if we take that terminology and adopt it or that mindset, we can just go ahead and turn everything. We can just join everything. Everything is everybody cold this cold boxing cold and if but I know if I was a female, I would not want to compete against a man. I just wouldn't. Not there's nothing about me that say, okay, I can beat a man. But being a man, I also don't want to compete against a female because it feels like I'm not gonna swing at a female as hard as I would swing at a man. So I'm at a disadvantage mentally. She's gonna be at a disadvantage physically. Um, so now it's not even a fair fight nowhere across the board. But I think just to answer Joey's question, I do think it's a disadvantage. Just my personal opinion. I think that any woman would have a perfect argument. And then you may have some women that think like you and be like, bring it on, bro. Like, let me show you I can beat this person.
One, I don't think the whole world needs to be discussing it all the time, and that's a real problem for me. The fact that trans people exist in the world at 0.02% of the population, and they are the most talked about people in the universe right now.
That's so crazy.
I mean,
of a thought. Yeah,
go
man.
2 minutes scrolling on the internet without finding someone talking, usually very bad, about a trans person. It's awful. Imagine being there. I mean, it's just ridiculous that that's where we are today, and it's.
I think that's your algorithm.
And I believe
because
that
I don't get any thing across.
I have a lot of hyper conservative people in my feed because of where I'm at and the type of work I do. So that's fair, but I do see a lot of that because of where I'm at.
Well,
and who I'm around.
And we're just going to continue the talk about trans people because I want to ask, I want to ask the question. I want to ask about this opening ceremony stuff. And I'll go ahead and say the predicament that I'm in, I didn't see it live. So I'm reading about the uproar before I even know anything about it. And I have YouTube TV. It was set to tape all things Olympics. And I just like literally 10 minutes before getting with you guys, I went to find it. And if I watched all of what was apparently the mockery part of the Last Supper, I'm just not seeing a whole lot. Maybe I'm not finding the right part, but it seemed like it was kind of more in the background. So I could be missing something, but I do want to make, I guess, some general statements about a scenario like this and how I see it through Christian lenses. So first and foremost, when I see a bunch of people who don't believe how I believe, I think of them as people who they can't even purposely be profane about something they don't even believe in. So I take very little offense when people are being what we would call blasphemous about something they don't even believe is true. Because I'm like, well, they don't believe it's true, so how can that be blasphemous to them? But I would say that you could be purposely disrespectful towards other people's beliefs. And so if I could articulate the smallest reservation, and it probably is pretty ignorant, I would say that why choose the Olympics for a time to do anything that is very polarizing that I don't think if you didn't do, anybody would feel slighted. Like if they didn't have anything like this, I don't think anybody in the LGBTQ community is going to be thinking to themselves, wow, I felt very offended by the opening ceremony. So why even go there? But I could also understand someone in the LGBTQ community saying, how dare you, to that pushback, just because of everything that community has had to endure in the history and continues to endure. But then even more general, the family atmosphere of the Olympics, and this isn't even a sexual orientation thing. If there were some sexually, really in your face things, I'd feel the same way if part of the parade was girls in bikinis flaunting like their hot bodies twerking or something. I'd be like, this is the Olympics. Like, it's not a sexual orientation thing. It's just like, my kids are here, and why are we watching this? I mean,
I think those are just American sensibilities, right? I mean,
sure, but again,
this is a puritanical culture we live in. We are a very puritanical culture, and other cultures are accustomed to kids seeing breasts and penises and things like that at a very young age.
This is true. That's a true statement.
It's normal. And I think that's part of the problem. That's part of the issue, is kids are not exposed to actual healthy sexuality. And so everything is so hyper sensationalized.
Okay.
The first time a kid sees a boob, it's like, oh my God.
Right. I agree. But I guess I would say, though, that if there were like 12 women barely dressed, all twerking, and guys behind them pretending to be having sex, for instance, if it was adult entertainment,
I like that.
if it was adult entertainment, I'd be like, well, that's how our entertainment has evolved over the years. But if it's something that we can assume kids can be in the room, it's just, but Matt, I totally agree with your assessment, but I still think there's got to be something to family entertainment. But anyway, that's all my least relevant things on the forefront. My biggest beef, and it's why the outrage from Christians. Like, when are we going to get this right? I imagine a world in which people poke the metaphoric bear of Christians all over the world, and they're just waiting for Christians to lose their damn minds all over social media, and they don't hear a peep outside of us cheering on the athletes for all the countries. I mean, let's go USA, let's go kick some ass. But all you hear from the Christians are, I love these athletes, and I hope they all have a great time at the Olympics. I hope they all, make memories, and I'm pulling for all of them to do well. Like, what if when we felt offended, we really turned the other cheek? If we feel so persecuted by something like this, why don't we bless those who persecute us? Like Jesus said.
Thank you. Amen.
Instead, Matt, I could tell you their name right now, who is a very, what most people would say, mainstream, respectable Christian leader. A lot of people get stuff out of their books, called for Christians to boycott. like a worldwide event where everybody is coming together. You could say relatively with goodwill, and it's a positive thing, and Christian leaders are calling to boycott. Now, a lot of people would say, yeah, but and again, we're operating off the assumption that what was done was just unbelievably blasphemous, uncalled for. People would say, well, what about Jesus flipping the tables? I'm so sick of that example, because Jesus flipping the tables, it was because of people on the inside, like basically people who were supposed to be pointing folks, the sheep, to God's love, and yet they're pointing them to places that are leading to bondage and weights, where if you cause these kids to stumble, then you need to basically kill yourself, throw yourself in the ocean. And I'll just end by saying it's heartbreaking when you think of what's going on in Christians' minds, as they're just like, look how evil this world has become. Look, this is a hopeless world. And the more you see people in a hopeless light, the more you see redemption being almost a lost cause. And how dare that doesn't make us, those type of people, respond in any way other than absolute sincere heartbrokenness towards people who they're looking at saying, man, they're so evil. Doesn't look like they're ever going to be redeemed. Thus, according to those beliefs, it looks like they're going to be eternally separated from God. That should just freaking break our hearts. And yet we're mad and we're yelling all over social media.
Yeah. I mean, if I were a pastor this last week and any of my congregates had participated in that shit, the crawling they would have received from the pulpit would have made most of them never come back. And I would not want them back.
Right.
You can't imagine how cruel I could be to those people.
And this is the stuff that everybody wants to be vocal about, Matt.
Yes.
All
It's
the stuff that's going right, all the stuff that's going on in this world, and the sort of things that we could be focusing our time and energy and gatherings doing on behalf of the world. This is the stuff that we're the most upset about.
If you're letting that sort of thing get to you, you should fire your pastor. Find somewhere else to go to church. You're wasting your time. You're not learning any fucking thing from being in that church. Get out. For real. If you're okay, if you think that your rage is so important that you have to go out and tell the world about it, you are missing the fucking point.
Well, y'all, please bring me up to speed on. I'm trying to. I was listening to Joey
talking about the Olympics, the ceremony that got everybody upset, and how Christians kind of went nuts on the internet about it, about this idea that the Last Supper was being mocked. And I think that's just another example of like, we're uncultured, that we don't recognize that sometimes things look alike. I think that was a depiction of a different thing.
Yeah.
And it upset Americans because they thought it was their favorite thing that was getting made fun of.
Well,
yeah. What other clarification you think you need?
Well, I mean, I kind of get it now. I'm just trying to understand, like, was it known that I didn't see the opening ceremony, and I told myself I was going to try to watch it before we started the episode, but somebody had to go like really early with this episode. They wanted to go. So I said I'll pick it up when they start talking. I'll feel out what happened and then comment on that. What gave the indication that it was a depiction of the Last Supper?
Yeah.
So
yeah, Matt, do you know? Because I don't. And I've even heard some people, like, first of all, I was very surprised and encouraged that the response of the people who were supposedly responsible for the ceremony was apologies. right.
Yeah, they apologized and was like, "We didn't mean it this way, but we're sorry it upset you."
Right,
so much.
right
Like,
then
we
and
didn't
there. That was the first door. That was like the first open door for Christians to be like,
not good enough.
Exactly. We should have been
Not good enough.
sorry for reacting with anger. Thank you for apologizing. Now we owe you an apology.
Right.
So how Matt, did it get like you know how to think, with evangelical lenses, like you know how to see the world through those lenses. Did it ever get obscene? Like, was there ever?
I don't know. Not that I saw.
Yeah,
I never saw anything obscene.
Yeah, I was expecting something.
Fucking Gojira played. That was awesome. Did you see Gojira play?
I don't know what language you're speaking right now, Matt.
Gojira. You don't know Gojira? It's a band. What? Oh God. Well, like one of the opening bands was Gojira, and it was amazing. It was right before all this.
Yeah,
it was so good.
Yeah.
I was thinking, everybody just saw one of the most amazing metal performances of all time, and all I heard was about some drag queens in a fucking Last Supper tableau. I never saw anything that I thought, even with Christian eyes, should be offensive.
Yeah.
Oh, except for the fact that trans people or gay people or drag queens existing is offensive in itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Matt, you have said many times how impressed you are as a spectator of the iGen. Why are you, Matt? Like, can you give some snapshot points as to why you're a little fascinated by this generation?
I think adversity builds a lot of character for sure. And I think this generation has been handed a lot of that. Like they have to try to figure out life that has been completely shit on by the boomer generation. They have to try to navigate college. That's $100,000 fucking dollars.
Oh,
they have to try to buy a house for $1 million.
But check this out, Matt. Yeah. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here. This is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I feel like my son has it super easy, and like even with houses.
Which son is this?
My youngest son, Jaden. He just turned 17, but I think he has it super easy. And not only that, let me tell y'all. So my son had his first heartbreak, and this is his first girlfriend, the first relationship he's ever had. And I know he's not built like me, because his mama makes sure he doesn't feel anything from the world. He don't have to go through anything. He don't have to. So I'm telling her all through his 16 years, hey, let him figure that out. Let him feel that. Let him, because you're setting him up for failure. Emotionally, he won't be able to handle anything once he get into the world. Now, mind y'all, I'm not bragging on anything. I'm always there for my kids. But my last son has gotten all of me. Like, he's gotten all of my mistakes revamped and renewed and fixed, and like, so he's got me at my best version. From if you could look at the gap from him and his oldest brother. I don't know the generations. I do think we need to have a generation talk, because I tried to do a show like that, and I call it Generation Gap or something like that. But if you look at the gap between my oldest son and my youngest son, the things that my youngest son is afforded right now is ridiculous. And so for his birthday, I got him, he requested these vintage KD shoes that were $350. Okay? The KD7s. I bought him the KD7s when they first came out.
He doesn't know who KD is, by the way.
So I was thinking British Knights. Do you remember BKs?
Think about
okay, that's what I was thinking. Like British Knights from the 90s.
Kevin Durant.
Never mind. Okay. Now I know. It took me a minute to put that together. Thank you, Joey, for pointing out that I don't know who Kevin Durant is. I do not. I know the name, but I know he's a basketball player. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm smart. That's it.
So listen, I bought him when it first came out. I bought him those shoes. He requested it for his birthday, which was the 17th of July. So he turned 17 on the 17th of July, which was his golden birthday or something like that. So he wanted these. He wanted these same KDs. That's something I don't know nothing about, man. I just heard it for $350. Listen to this. He went out. He was like, "Daddy, I'm gonna play." He in his final weekend at AAU, the tournament in Dallas. He said, "Daddy, I'm gonna play in my shoes." I was like, "Cool, that's good." The shoes lasted one game. The front and the back was tearing off of the shoe, like it was ripping. The shoes was flapping. The front of the shoes was flapping like this. And I said, Jaden, if you don't take this as a lesson that you don't need to spend $350 for and it's my money. But
what's this got to do with the generation being fucked up? Because I mean, that's not on him.
I'm not saying it's.
If you pay $350 for some shoes, homie, that's
I'm saying it's fucked up.
That's a Stoy problem.
You're missing it, man. I'm saying it's fucked up. I'm saying they got it easy. You were saying they got it hard, like they got so much they got to deal with, adversity and things like that. And I'm saying they got it easy because you speak of college tuition and all of that. They don't even have to go to college. It's so many ways to make money. I was building this up to tell y'all this. So my son had his first heartbreak. So I'm spending every second of the day with him because he's emotionally torn up. He's crying every day, like uncontrollable crying. He just calling me, "Daddy, da da da." So I'm leaving work, going to spend time with him. He has his own business where he details cars, and he don't have to do this. He just do it. He started doing it to put gas in his Lexus, to put gas in his car. He's driving a brand new Lexus. So I go to do a car with him because he was getting complaints from his customers. His customer was complaining, and they put reviews out on him like, "Oh, don't get this kid." He don't care. I'm like, Jay, you want to keep these customers, you building up a clientele and da 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 da. He's like, "Daddy, I spent an hour and a half on that car," and like he don't got no concept of value this customer because of this. So I go with him to detail this car. This happened yesterday. One car, an hour and a half, $85. So that my son walking around with, I'm talking about, y'all, how them people have them thick, like he's walking around with that, and he has no concept of. He still asks me to buy him things. He doesn't feel anything from the world. And I think it's a lot of these kids. You look at these, Matt, you be on the internet some. You look at these kids that are YouTubers, and they get paid just to have fun. They get paid to have people record them having fun. It's so many ways to make money that we didn't have in our generation. We had it hard. The inflation doesn't affect them because they got means to make money. They got so many means to make money.
I mean, that's true for some of them. That's true for your kid.
No,
apparently. But I mean, that it's just like they're like 0.00001% of kids that start YouTube channels ever earn $1.
Man, that's absolutely not. Look at all of these millionaires.
So few do. I know there's a lot of them, but it's still that 1% of the population. It's not the same thing as the general populace having the same type of access or better access than you and I had.
I promise you.
A lot of that highly depends on your socioeconomic status, which for you is much better than it was when you were a child. Right? Like your socioeconomic status today versus what you grew up with is much better, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's not the case for everybody.
But
there are a lot of people, it's not the case for me.
But
it's not the case for a lot of people.
But I'm talking about we talking about Generation Z.
But your socioeconomic status affects his socioeconomic status and the way he understands money and the way he understands poverty and the way he understands business and everything.
But
all of that informs that.
And that comes from this day and age, this generation of how I'm learning things and taking advantage of it. But that were not available when I was growing up. So I'm thinking we're trying to compare our generations as when we were kids. So if I'm looking at when I was a kid, you said it. There wasn't no means to get no money on YouTube and just play a game. There wasn't no means.
Yeah.
And look at if you can pay me for playing Pac-Man, I would be so rich right now.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm getting at there is like there are only so many people that are going to be in the NFL.
Paid for playing Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers, man. We'd be rich.
But to make a living doing that is like a kid wanting to be in the NFL.
Yeah,
you're not going to have that many people doing that. It's just a tiny percentage of the people that want that get it.
But I ain't talking about just that. I'm just bringing that up as an example. But there are different ways to go. You on TikTok, get on TikTok and type in trends or what people are doing, and you will see so many kids that make money just off of videos, just off of regular stuff. And this is not me making up things. I don't think that they're connected to the struggle like somebody like us. They're not connected to it because they're not even looking at how many kids in Generation Z do you hear thinking about their college tuition?
A lot of them.
Where?
I mean, a lot of them think it's like it's made up money because the numbers are unreal. And they're also seeing that their parents have degrees that are completely useless.
Exactly.
Like, they're not thinking about college tuition because they know it's not obtainable. That's the same reason I never thought about it.
No, they're not thinking about it because they don't have to do it to survive.
And you shouldn't have to do it to survive. That's good that it's better.
And to be successful, you don't need a college degree to be successful. You don't.
Yeah, and neither did we, though. Like, we didn't need it either. We were just lied to about it.
I know.
We were just told that we had to have that or we would be janitors the rest of our life, as if there's something wrong with that.
Well, I wasn't even told what you just said because it wasn't never a thing where I grew up. But my thing, what I'm saying to you is you brought up the housing prices, you brought up tuition for college. And I'm saying that doesn't register to them like it registers to us because they don't believe that lie because they got parents that's got a college degree that they not even in that field of work. Like, like the degree just in the thing on the wall, so it's so many ways for kids. Like my son is 16 and he's an entrepreneur and he's doing his own business. Like, and that's easy for anybody to do in this day and age with the internet and all that.
I mean, I started my business when I was 16 in the year 2000. So I've done this too. So I mean, I understand that. And I have that grind and hustle mindset. I think those things are really important and good. It's just not everybody does. And having been in business now for 22 years, it fucking sucks. It really fucking sucks. And it's a lot on a person. So it's not, you can be doing well when you're young, but if you're really trying to own and operate a business, it is a hell of a lot of work and it's really hard. And it's not just going to fall in anybody's lap.
No,
it looks like these YouTubers have it very easy doing what they're doing. And some of them probably do, But there's also a lot of these kids that are making serious money. They have millions of dollars invested in studios, so that it looks like a small thing, but it's actually a really big business.
I know they do it. I watched a whole plethora of them. They get together and they buy out a mansion, and then they make each room a studio, and each person got a responsibility for so much amount of content to put out. And but I'm saying content creator. There are job titles and businesses and ways to make money that was not even a thing. Even you couldn't even fathom that at our when we were kids. Like so you had to think about college, or what am I going, or the military. That's what it was for the
right. Do you, I should ask this: do you think that their lives, not even today, in 10 years, do you think that their lives will be easier than ours were or harder than ours were? Do you think that like achieving owning a home or retirement even is obtainable to most Gen Alpha?
Well, see, Gen Alpha, you talking about my son's
All right, Gen Z. I'm sorry, John. Yeah, whatever your son's generation actually is.
Well, they definitely don't have confidence at all.
They don't seem to believe that. I certainly don't believe that about my generation.
Well,
I don't think Social Security will exist for me.
Well, but I don't think that's the. If you think about it, I don't think that's the terminology I would tie in with success. Like
I agree. Yeah.
So we were programmed. If you think about it, we were programmed to be employees. We were programmed to think we should go to college and pay back a student loan that you gonna be paying on it. You're gonna be paying that debt probably the first 20 years of your career, or whatever, however long. So we were programmed in a system to be employees. We don't learn the system like how the generation is learning it now. We didn't learn about becoming a business owner and becoming a person that has employees. I didn't readily learn that. I'm just now learning that later on, and understanding all of the tax breaks and all of that stuff you can benefit from. I was on the other end of that, but this generation, they got a leg up on all of that stuff. And I think because unless you're an athlete, they're not even looking at school like it's needed. Like it's not an avenue that they feel like they have to go in, unless it's their parent is preaching that to them. But they go in, when they go to school, all of their friends are showing them, hey, let's do a video and watch it go viral. And when the video go viral just from us two dancing, doing the new hot steps, and that go viral, and we just made $1,000 from doing that. Well, let's do two more of those videos.
Long term, though, what does that? Will that be? Is that sustainable? Will that forever be the case? Can they make a career out of that forever? Do you think?
I think the people that invest their time into it, yeah, because they make so, like, how do you become a billionaire from YouTube videos? Do you
look disgusted, Stoy? You look disgusted.
No, I think I love it.
Going to become harder and harder to do.
No, I'm not disgusted. I'm not a hater at all. I love anybody that can get it, because I know our government gonna take it. They're gonna do what they can to take it from you. So I'm not disgusted at all. I'm just saying, if you think about it, the ease in which it can happen. It's possible. There's a possibility. That was never a possibility for us. They have so much opportunity to do things. They don't see the world like how they're not in the same world that we were in. So I don't think it's harder for them at all. I think inflation affect the people that think like us, our generation. We like, oh man, how am I gonna buy this or purchase this? Because we think we think the wrong way. We don't have buying a house don't have to be successful. Owning a house and renting it out, that's more of a successful mindset. Like
Oh, I hate that.
I'm not thinking
I hate that.
you hate. I'm not hate. I'm
Yeah,
not.
no, don't do that.
Don't do what?
Buy a house and rent it out.
Oh, well, see,
that's like the least successful thing in the world to me. That is learning.
I'm talking about the mentality.
Exploiting it.
I'm talking about the mentality.
Yeah,
the mentality.
That's the grind set culture. I hate the whole grind set mindset thing, where your ultimate goal in life is to flip houses and have other people paying for your mortgage. Drives me insane.
But why, man?
That is very
why?
bad.
What is wrong with you?
Let's
because you are leveraging your wealth to harm other people. I'm a socialist.
Harm?
It's just against my.
Yes, how's that? Harm. Okay, Joey, can we?
If I have to pay double what it cost for you to have the house, you're just holding a house. No, you're just a mortgage payer, and our mortgage holder. I'm the payee. But I'm the one that should own the house.
That sounds like a you problem. I know you just told me
that's just
earlier.
A philosophical difference. Yeah. That's a philosophical difference between a capitalist and not.
When I was telling you that Jaden was getting this and getting that, you was like, well, if he's able to do that, so if that person is able to purchase a house and rent it out, why are you mad at that person?
It's a moral question. I'm not mad at him. It's just a moral question.
What?
Can you inside you, do you feel okay with that?
Yeah, right.
Do you really feel okay with that? If you do, that's fine. I don't. I can't.
But I'm trying to understand your logic. Okay. I'm trying to understand your logic.
My logic is that, let's say I own a home. My mortgage is $400 a month. I know that's low, but I'm in the South, so it's actually pretty cheap here. I'm going to charge $1,200 a month for you to rent it. That's robbery. That's highway robbery. And the only reason you're able to do that is because the system allows you to exploit other people. The system is designed so that you can more easily do that. And I'm sorry, the reason why people stay in poverty who rent is because of that excess. You can never get ahead like that. You can never own a home like that. Like, and this is not as major an issue when you're talking about, let's say Stoy owns 2 or 3 homes. That's not as big of a deal. But there are banks now that own hundreds of thousands of homes, and they're charging $4,000 and $5,000 a month for rent. It's killing people. And even when it's done on a small scale, even when it's done on a tiny scale, when Stoy does it, it's still bad because it's taking away from what other people can have.
No.
Like, it's driving these prices up. It's driving up homelessness to continue renting out homes and buying homes that you're not going to live in.
Now
I believe it should be illegal to own a home that you don't live in.
Okay. Now you are talking from a scale of, I was talking about buying a house and renting it out. You talking about a bank buying a neighborhood and charging astronomical prices. That's
they're the same thing.
No, it's not. It's
I mean, I think it's cool if you're a landlord and you don't charge an excessive amount of rent. That's fine.
No,
that is fine with me.
I just want to be able to finish my point without.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
I'll shut up now.
My point is, I come from the projects. I came from the projects. So I remember Joey asking a question like, should we, if somebody gets a certain amount of money, should we like cap them at a certain point? And Joey, you remember my response was, no, that person should then share the knowledge of what they did in order to get to that point. And if you sharing the knowledge, and I think that's the only thing I would basically put on them. But if you come across a way to be successful or to come up, or I ain't saying to extort anybody or take advantage of anybody. I never want to take advantage of anybody. But if I'm able to, if I find a loophole to where I can get me a house, and matter of fact, I heard one today. So it's just understanding the concept. I see where you're coming from, Matt, and I feel you on that. I'm all the way with you if you're taking advantage of anybody. But if you taking advantage of the government using the things that they don't want you to know against them, I don't see nothing wrong with that. I don't see nothing
No,
wrong
I
with
don't either.
somebody buying a house and renting the house out. And if you go by your idea, then it should never be renters. Like if you're renting, who are you renting from? And what
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah, there shouldn't be renters.
no, I think they should be. I think there should be renters. There should be owners. There should be. But I think there's an avenue for everybody. Anytime you saying to take a part of something out without understanding if it was done in a healthy way, this is beneficial for any and everybody. If you're not somebody that wants to rent houses out, if you feel as strongly as you do about it, then get a house and rent it to somebody that's less than what you're paying for it. That makes no sense. That logically that doesn't make any sense.
If you can afford to buy a house, you should just give it away.
No, well, I give away a lot of things. I always do. I understand that concept as well. I gave away a driver yesterday at work, but the
Whoa,
What
whoa,
kind of
whoa,
driver?
whoa. Like
the
you're into trafficking?
a
You
driver,
gave a driver, somebody who
Like
drives?
a golf driver?
yeah, a Callaway driver.
Oh, I thought you meant like a person driver. You gave a person away. I was
Oh
gonna
yeah,
say that's
I
messed
did
up,
that
Stoy.
too. I give away.
Oh, Stoy.
No, come on, Joey. Like, but I mean, I don't know if y'all can see. I'm renting my I rent my apartment,
Yeah.
and I'm sure whoever owns it is, and my rent goes up every year. But the person that own it, I can't be mad at them if they decide to raise my rent. If I got a problem with it, then I should go get my own apartment building, find out what they did, get that information, get my own apartment building, and then rent it out to people like me for a cheaper price and never raise the rent. I don't have a problem with it because I understand they know something I don't know. They've learned something I haven't learned. So why not just, if I have that big of a problem with it, go get that information and then do it and change how they're, if I got a problem with what they're doing, do it a different way. But not just say, no, they need to stop what they're doing because that's
Ooh, he's
hurting the
mocking
world.
Matt right now. That's Matt's voice. That's
Yeah.
always giving Matt.
No, I would say that if you're in a situation where you're able to own thousands of homes, you're obviously, I mean, you understand and you agree that to own thousands of homes and to control the pricing the way that it is done now is a problem. That's immoral.
I
To have
totally
a
agree.
monopoly on a market is bad. The thing that you should try to solve is not that this person knows the rules and therefore can exploit the system better than I can. The problem is that the system is capable of being exploited so easily by that upper crust of society, by that bourgeois class. That's the problem. So the
totally
issue isn't,
agree.
yes, Stoy needs to survive and Stoy can take advantage of the same loopholes. The question is, why didn't you know it? Why didn't you learn about those loopholes in school? And why did they in their prep schools learn about it?
I totally agree.
There's this class divide is actually what I'm super concerned about. And that's what I think should be kind of the focus of progress and change, is how do we mend the class divide such that the working class, the people who do all the work, the people who are on currently the lower rungs of society should be the ones with the power and should be the ones who can make decisions. And in fact, that's not the case. We have the least amount of power. We have the least amount of decision-making power. And I mean, that system isn't working. My whole point is the system is bad, not necessarily that you're a greedy person for owning a home and renting it out. It's that the system allows for massive exploitation, and that is happening, and it is affecting. It's the reason why your rent is whatever it is. And it's probably more than you really want to be paying for it, I'm sure.
Well,
hey, Matt, true or false, growing up as a kid, did you call as a derogatory insult other people commies?
No, I was a really early commie. So people called me a commie.
That's awesome. That was a cut down growing up as a kid, like in the Cold War
I joined
days.
the party at like 13 or 14.
So we used to say, you little commie.
Yeah.
well,
yeah, I still get called that. To me, it's if you come from a capitalist mindset and you adopt a non-capitalist mindset, I actually think that it's very similar to what Jesus called the renewing of your mind, because it forces you to reframe your relationship with all of humanity.
Yeah.
It really does.
All right, Matt, we'll end the show here. I just erased Stoy's last name on the Riverside platform. Can you say can you spell Stoy's last name?
Spell?
Yep. Can you spell it?
Ooh, that's a very hard name. And I noticed you did that, and I was like, why did he do that? Prileau?
You missed Prioleau.
Say it for me. How do you say it?
Prioleau.
Prioleau? Okay, I say it right. That's good.
Y'all don't have Prioleaus in Georgia?
Yeah. I've never heard the name Prioleau
really?
before. Stoy. I don't think so.
That's interesting because it's almost. I mean, you grow up in Charleston.
You know Oxleys? Have you ever met an Oxley?
No,
because there aren't a lot.
No, I never met an Oxley either. But I thought Matt was from Charleston.
No,
I'm from Eastman, Georgia.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you was from Charleston.
Yeah, Prioleau is like household name around here. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, it's got a Frenchness to it. It sounds very French.
Well, the
right?
EAU gave it away.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, it is a French last name, but that's because I was shipped from France. I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I figured it was something heinous.
Yeah.
most African American last names are.
Yeah.